Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Market Down Podcast. My name is Nick Cummings, joined this week by James Gisante, and we are here to give our predictions for AEW Revolution 2023. Now, normally for these prediction shows, Danny hosts, but Danny is unfortunately not here. So, in keeping with tradition, hey, hi, hello, welcome to Market Down production. My name is Florence, and I am joined by the Machine, and we are here to give our AEW Revolution predictions. I hope it did you proud there, Danny.
10 out of 10, no notes. Beautifully done. It was like Danny was here.
Thank you. But let us get into the show, and let's start with a recently announced match, which is Christian Cage versus Jungle Boy Jack Perry. And it was now being called a no-holds-barred match on Dynamite this past week. They did just call it a fight, and they never got anywhere else. I guess Tony made it a no-holds-barred match. But obviously, James, a lot of bad blood in this feud dating back to before Christian's injury. But I do understand them coming back and doing it because I do think we need a bit of a resolution. I almost said a revolution, but a resolution on this end, just in terms of Jungle Boy versus Christian himself, instead of Jungle Boy versus Christian's proxy, Luchasaurus.
I do agree. There needed to be a level of closure for this feud.
Some finality.
Yes, but I actually think it would have been better if Christian just cost Jungle Boy a title match as opposed to just randomly coming out and returning. And then he himself getting a title match, using his record as a former champion to sort of boost him up, because the rankings aren't a thing anymore. And he could have just gotten himself a title match, and then Jungle Boy beats Christian for his first singles title. I think that would have been a better, more natural way of getting there. But
I mean, you just said that, and I automatically just booked Jungle Boy versus Orange Cassidy in a very nice handshake match. Christian costs him. Christian beats Orange Cassidy. Sorry, Danny. And then Jungle Boy eventually beats Christian.
I think that would have been perfect. I think that would have been perfect.
Stuck in a different match, which we'll get to later.
Annoyingly. But yeah, so as for this match, it's weird because for the story, it should be Jungle Boy. But like Christian is so hot right now as a heel, I don't want to derail that.
It's that damn Christian. It's so hot right now.
That creepy little bastard Christian.
That damn Christian.
I'm going to go with my gut here, and I'm going to say Christian Cage over Jungle Boy.
Wow. Okay, so that's interesting because I feel like this feud needs to. It's weird because the feud needs to end, but I also feel like it just started again, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't want it to go past this.
I think if Christian beats Jungle Boy and then says, we're just done, I have no reason to fight you anymore, and then Christian does eventually go for a singles title, I think we could circle back to Jungle Boy doing what I said and dethroning Christian eventually. And I think you're right, actually. I think Christian taking the All-Atlantic off Orange Cassidy, perfect.
Mega heat.
So yeah, I'm all for it. Let that be the way this goes.
Somewhere Danny is screaming at you.
Well, he ain't here.
Yeah, but
I'm safe.
I mean, admittedly, Danny does think Christian has done great in his role, and so do I. And it's weird because I was going to say Jungle Boy because there's two paths you take here. Jungle Boy wins, this propels him to a singles title shot, and he eventually wins somewhere down the road. Or you do it the way you said, where Christian wins, he gets the singles title shot, and eventually Jungle Boy comes back for his revenge and takes it off of Christian, which both stories are very good. Damn, you got me mad torn now.
Right? It's not so clear cut.
You know, I think I'm going to pick Jungle Boy, and here's why. They've been trying to tell this story where Jungle Boy doesn't have this killer instinct that Christian has. Jungle Boy didn't hit the concerto when he had the chance.
Yeah.
And I do think, which is weird because I kind of already told the story.
With Adam Cole, right?
Yeah, not only with him, but they also kind of told it in the beginning part of the Christian feud anyway.
Yeah.
But I think now, especially with that whole grave bit that they did, I do think that we have Jungle Boy win here because I think Jungle Boy is going to do something really fucked up to win this match, and it might change him a bit. I don't know if I don't think they're going to turn him heel, but I do think we kind of start seeing the more darker and perhaps violent side of Jungle Boy, as opposed to, that, I don't want to say happy to be here guy, but the young up and comer Jungle Boy, but as opposed to the one who now understands what he knows, that now understands what he has to do to win, especially if he wants to win a title. Like sometimes you got to put your hands in the dirt and, get a little messy. I think that's the story they're trying to tell here. So I'm going to go with Jungle Boy.
It was funny to me because we should move on from this, but it was funny to me when we were watching the bit about, Jungle Boy with the grave and the headstone. There was a part of me that I really thought we were going to see Jungle Boy on the gravestone. Like he's ready to move on from being that character and he's going to be Jack Perry. But and that's why he was crying, because he's mourning who he used to be and now what Christian turned him into. So, what do I know? What do I know? Cool. I'm not Tony Khan. I don't book AEW.
I don't think Jungle Boy's there yet. I think he can still use the Jungle Boy Jack Perry moniker. I think that works. Obviously, as he becomes more of a Jungle Man, I think he'll end up just dropping the boy and go as Jungle Jack Perry. I think that's a good play. And I don't know. I think it was kind of JR who started calling him Jungle Boy Jack Perry or Jungle Boy Jack. And even if it wasn't official,
it was a good choice. A lot of people gave him flack for it, but it was the right thing to do.
Yeah, they were giving JR flack for it.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah, but I think in the long run it'll play out better because, like I said, Jungle Boy Jack Perry to Jungle Jack Perry. Even if he goes in a different direction and he ends up dropping the jungle in general, I think it's something he can always use if he wants to go back to it, or especially that theme, because that theme will always hold up. So. I think it's a good play in the long term. Whoa, 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 whoa. That's my best Taz impression. Jungle Boy Jones over here, but I digress. Let's move on to one of the other non-title matches of the night, which sees Chris Jericho facing off against Ricky Starks. The Jericho Appreciation Society is banned from ringside for this match, which naturally won't stop them for whatever reason, whether it be ref bump or Jericho recruiting somebody else or who knows what it is. There are some people who think that because there are some cracks in the armor of Chris Jericho that maybe a JAS turn on Jericho is in the works. Whether or not that comes this weekend or not is interesting, but James, I do think Ricky Starks gets the win here, strictly because this needs to fucking die, this feud. We've said it the entirety of this feud in general. It's gone completely backwards, where Starks won the first match, and then somehow he lost all the next ones because Jericho just was cheating and sucks. And now we're having the same match we had 5 weeks ago, but I think Starks wins and just ends and get Ricky out of the Jericho Appreciation Society, vortex.
I feel so bad, but I just don't care about this at all. I don't think it's going to be a great match. I don't think it's going to, the feud hasn't been great. I just don't care. I'm gonna go for Ricky because please God, don't let him end up losing this feud. But I think the winners are going to be the audience when it's over.
I mean, you're not wrong. I care because I care about Ricky.
And I care about Ricky too, but bad feuds do hurt people. It's just a thing. It's just a fact of wrestling. A bad feud can really tank a good wrestler. And that sucks that that's true, but we've seen it time and time again. Look at babyface Seth Rollins. What happened when he had that feud with The Fiend? No, bad feuds can really tank a guy's momentum.
That tanked both of them.
It really did. But
I don't even blame them. It was the booking in that Hell in a Cell match. But
absolutely, it was terrible. It was terrible. But the booking of this feud has not been great. It's been middling. It's been Ricky looked like $1 million going into the feud. he started the feud looking like $1 million. And as the feud continued, he started to look worse and worse. And I get that. He's supposed to face adversity. Otherwise, what's the point? But again, just like everything, we always say it almost every week. I feel like we're just repeating ourselves. These Jericho feuds go in reverse. So I'm just ready for it to be done. And I'm rooting for Ricky. Just please don't let him lose.
Yeah.
That would be the most depressing outcome of the night, I think.
Yeah, you could, I think, possibly lose the crowd if Ricky Starks loses.
I think so.
I genuinely think that could happen because, and we'll talk about it later, but when you have that 60-minute match, it's going to be difficult to keep the crowd for that whole thing in general. So losing the crowd at any point in this card, except for maybe, a cool down match or two, which you obviously need. And quite frankly, looking at this, there really aren't any except maybe this or the one we just talked about with Jungle Boy, which is insane to say because they're both very good matches, I think, on paper. But you got to be really careful booking this card. And I think if you have Jericho win, especially honestly, if he cheats or he goes over clean, either way, I think if you have Jericho win, I think it's a bad call. And I think you end up losing a good chunk of this crowd, and it's going to be really hard to bring them back. So do the right thing, Tony Khan. Ricky needs to go over and go get a fucking title, which is what they should have done after he lost to MJF, because he was, like you said, he was white hot coming out of that. Yep. And he did jack shit with it. And I understand on paper, a win in a feud against Jericho is a good thing, but not when you book it like this, bud. Not when you book it like this. Let's start moving on to some title matches. We will start with the Trios Championship match, which sees the Elite of Kenny Omega and Nick and Matt Jackson against the House of Black, obviously led by Malachi Black, joined by Brody King and Buddy Matthews. James, I know you've been very disappointed with the build to this feud, but despite all that, I expect a very good match out of these 6 men and Julia on the side.
I
hope she kills Cutler. I was
going to say, how dare you forget Cutler and Nakazawa? Yes, I've been very disappointed with the feud, but that is not to take away from how good the match is going to be. I think this match is going to be the dark horse of the night. I think it has all the potential to steal the show just because of all the men involved, if it's given the chance to. I have a sneaky, weird suspicion that the true story is going to be what happens after the match. I don't know, but my heart is telling me the Elite. My head is telling me House of Black.
Do you think something's going to be revived after the match, or
fuck the revival?
No, you got to do it like Cody, where he turns around and he's fuck the revival.
Fuck the revival.
I saw that clip earlier today and I forgot about it for BTE and I couldn't stop laughing.
All right.
It's that and then Kenny being like the agent, like, sweetie, what's wrong, honey? I forgot how good that bit was.
R.I.P. Cody on BTE.
BTE Cody was great. He's saying you're gonna fucking murder Adam Cole. How hard is this?
But I'm going with the Elite. And again, I think something's going to happen after the match. I don't know if it'll be, I don't know if there will be a cult of some sort, a very personable cult, or, a revival of some sorts. But I think something's going to happen after the match or at the very end of the match.
See, this disappoints me because I think for a long time we were talking about the House of Black coming back and taking the titles off the Elite, and we were really hyped about it, and we're getting it, or at least we're getting the match, and we just don't fucking care.
Yeah, they did a terrible job of booking this. And again, we've talked about it. Some of it's on us. Some of it's on the fact that we just don't watch Rampage, but we could go back and say they didn't really dedicate that much time to it on Rampage either.
Yeah, exactly, because I think most of what was on Rampage was just lights turn off, House of Black appear, lights turn off again, they're gone, and the Elite are spooked. And I don't know if they got physical on Rampage. Obviously, they got physical on Wednesday on Dynamite, but we didn't fucking see it because it was in the dark. So it's been a disappointing build. Even I think if you have been watching the Rampage stuff, I think we could have gotten a lot cooler stuff, even if kind of since their return, the House of Black have been mentioning the disease that is within AEW and how they have to eradicate it. And that was always obviously directed at the Elite, but they were just never interacting. And it was just a subtle thing we all kind of assumed. I want the House of Black to win. I think it's what we've always wanted. I think it would be cooler. I think it's just better. I think they do better with the titles. I'm going to pick them. I'm probably going to be wrong. As much as I fucking love the Elite, but I'm going to be pulling for the House of Black here, so I am going to pick them. But before I move on, though, I do want to know what you're most excited for in this match, because I know you really want to see Buddy Matthews versus Kenny.
Yes,
absolutely. I want to see him versus Nick Jackson as well.
Yeah, no, I do. I think there are so many fun matchups here. I think Kenny works well against all three men. I think the striking compatibility between him and Malachi is going to be incredible. I think we're going to see lots of knees from him and Buddy and Malachi as well. And Kenny does well against big guys too. He's really good against big guys like Brody as well. And I think the Bucks are just great against everybody. I think they're a fantastic team, and I think they're going to have a lot of fun going against Black and Brody. Not Brody, Buddy. And yeah, I am very excited to see Julia Hart just decimate Cutler.
She's gonna kill one of them, whether it's Cutler or Nakazawa. They're going fucking down.
Absolutely. So
they're gonna get misted. One of them is gonna get misted by her.
In a vacuum, I was thinking it too, and I feel like what's his name? Cutler would be the best just because he has the mask on most of the time.
It'd be kind of funny if it got knocked sideways and she missed him and it blocked it, and he was like, "I'm good," and then somebody just fucking nailed him.
I would love it. And this is what we love wrestling for. But in a vacuum, I'm super excited for this match. Like all the elements are there for something truly memorable. It's just they really fumbled getting us here.
Yeah,
they
like you
really
said,
fumbled it.
It's gonna be the dark horse match of the night because it's going to deliver. It's just it's not delivering on anything. You know, because there's no build, like we don't have any hype going into this other than these are 6 really good fucking wrestlers. And sometimes that works, but with the Elite, I think we've come to expect a bit more storytelling wise. And with House of Black, especially Malachi, I think we've come to expect more storytelling wise. So I think that's a disappointment, but I'm sure we're going to enjoy the fuck out of this match. It's going to be a lot of fun.
No, I agree.
All right. Let us move to the women's side of the card where we have a triple threat for the AEW Women's Championship. Jamie Hayter versus Saraya versus Ruby Soho. This has been a very interesting build. Obviously, we've had the AEW Originals led by Jamie and Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, along going up against Saraya and Toni Storm, who consider themselves outsiders. And I hesitate using that word to not offend the NWO, but you get what I'm saying. They're imports, for lack of a better phrase. And sorry, I'm not going to go there, James. Don't worry.
Don't do it. He's not here. I'm safe.
That's like the 8th Danny reference we've made, and he's not here.
He's missed.
I promise you, Chad, I'll make a reference to you at some point. But yes, we've had the two of them, and we've had Ruby Soho caught in the middle of all things, and quite frankly, all she wants is the fucking title. So good for her. I'm actually low-key excited with this. You called the last match that we just discussed, the Dark Horse match. I think this match can be very good. I think it's going to surprise a lot of people. I'm hoping Saraya's up to speed at least, and I think if she shows out, this can make it a very, very good and entertaining match.
No, I agree. I think, again, like the last match, it has all the elements to be a really good match. Again, another example where the story, as good as this story has been, has sort of muddied the title match for what it could be or what it should be. But it's not as egregious as the Elite House of Black feud. I'm hyped for it. I'm rooting for Ruby, and I'm just going to say now that I think Jamie retains. That's who my pick is. Jamie Hayter is my pick. But I'm rooting for Ruby. One, so she could finally like get what she deserves, and two, that way this feud can continue without the title.
Yeah, no, that would be good. I mean, I do think the title has been a little caught up in this feud because it's a very entertaining feud.
It is. It absolutely is.
But the title does kind of get stuck in there, and it's annoying. I think you're right. I think Jamie does retain because she's just white hot right now, and taking the title off her is dumb. But if I was to pick somebody else to win, I would pick Ruby as well. I'm rooting for her also, and Ruby's momentum has come up again of late. I think she's having her best run since, and I think I'm kind of cribbing off Danny here again, but since she entered the company and she had that feud with Britt, she's been really good. I think people are enjoying the fact she's not picking a side, despite the fact when this all started, that seemed to be one of the more intriguing things. But now it's like, nah, this is just, she's like, fuck everything, fuck the bullshit. I want the title. Fuck all y'all. This is dumb. And I kind of like that. It's a little refreshing, and it fits well with her character. So who do you think takes the pin then? If Jamie wins, do you think it's Saraya or do you think it's Ruby?
I think it's Ruby just because I think Saraya hasn't lost yet, right?
She hasn't lost a singles match. They did lose a tag match.
Yeah, I don't think
it was interference, I believe, but
yeah. I don't think we're gonna see Saraya get pinned for the first time in a triple threat. I think her first pinfall loss is gonna be a bigger deal, and I don't see it happening in a triple threat. I mean, I could be wrong, but I hope not.
I feel like if it comes anywhere, it's going to come in either a singles match against Britt or it comes in some sort of blow off to whatever this feud is between Britt and Jamie versus Saraya and Toni Storm.
Yeah.
So I don't think I think you're right. I don't think it comes here, which is a shame.
Yeah.
So either we're rooting for Ruby to pin Jamie or Jamie to pin Ruby, which is unfortunate. But I think either way, we win. I'm playing both sides, so I always come out on top.
You say that, and then Saraya is going to win the title, pinning both of them.
What is it, Roman Reigns against Edge and Bryan? No, I don't think that'll happen. Saraya's not ready for the title in terms of A, just being around AEW long enough, and B, I just don't know where she is in ring wise. I've only seen her wrestle twice, maybe 3 times in AEW, and she looks better each time. She looks like she's getting the groove back, but I don't think you could put the champ on somebody who's only wrestled 4 or 5 times in your company, especially somebody who's coming off such a long layoff. You know, like they gave Punk a while. It was at least 8 months before they gave him the title, and that worked out real well because he immediately killed himself. But like, admittedly, that the foot thing was a fluke. I mean, he did it jumping into the crowd, which is stupid, but it was a fluke. And then he hurt himself for real. But either way, like, I think you can't put on Saraya just yet. There is one thing I'm curious about. Where is Hikaru Shida? That is an X factor, I think, possibly in this match.
There are so many factors here now. We have Shida who's involved. We have Riho who's involved in some capacity. There are a lot of moving parts to this feud, and I think that's awesome. I think that's absolutely awesome. We all know the X factor. It's going to come down to Reba. Reba, not Rebel.
Yep. Rebel, not Reba.
I knew what I said.
Yeah, I know.
I knew what I said. But there are so many things that could change the outcome of this. And it's exciting. It's a very exciting match. I think it's got the biggest air of unpredictability to it.
Hot take, I don't want anybody to interfere. Tony and Britt are 100% interfering. That's going to happen. It's a done deal. I don't want anyone to interfere.
I would be fine with Britt and Tony fighting up the ramp.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't affect the outcome of the match, I think I'd be fine with that. Yeah. But I don't want somebody affecting the outcome of the match. I think it would be better if somebody just won this clean, and clean being a relative term and a triple threat, obviously. Yeah. But I think it would be a lot cooler. And then maybe you have, faction wars afterwards or starting on Wednesday, because I'm here for women's faction wars.
I am here for women's blood and guts.
Yes. Well, obviously that would be the end all be all of it all. But yeah, we need, Britt and Jamie and possibly Rio. And I think Willow Nightingale should be involved in this as well. I know she was on Ring of Honor this past week, which great for her. I love Willow, but I think she should be involved. She'd be cool. And if she gets involved, Ruby's had her back recently.
Yeah.
So that, maybe Ruby joins.
Kind of sad that fell apart, right?
Yeah. I like them together. But I mean, Willow hasn't been seen on TV since she got beat down by Saraya and Tony. Ruby made the save, and then she's been off AEW television, at least on Dynamite.
Beat her so bad she had to go to ROH.
Which is nuts because, all right, I know we don't go on tangents. I'm going on a little tangent here.
Never here.
When I went to the night before Full Gear, that, what is that? Rampage. There you go. When I went to that Rampage, I think was it on Dark? Yeah, it was on Dark. Athena had a match. Willow had a match earlier in the night. She was way over. Athena had a match against somebody, and she kicked the shit out of her and was beating her down after the match, and Willow made the save. And Willow was still way over. Willow was seriously over. And maybe it's the music. I love her fucking entrance. It's really happy. It kind of has like a Bailey vibe where everyone's just really happy when it comes on, and she's kind of the happy-go-lucky wrestler, but she's a badass when she needs to be, and people fucking love her. So use her, Tony Khan. She's a really good asset. I think she would, do well in this feud. Obviously, she's already had a stake in it. I think she'd be good.
She was incredibly over in Ring of Honor.
Yeah, people love Willow, man. Like, it's great. Use her. I think the only problem is with this feud is I think you have more people on the AEW original side than on the Tony and Saraya side. I don't know who else, unless Ruby turns heel, which who knows? I don't think we should do that. She's obviously got a lot of momentum going right now. I'm trying to think of who else could join that side. It's tough. And obviously, like
Athena
I said earlier,
would be good.
Athena would be good, but I think she's going to be in Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
If she is champ, though, that would lend credibility to that stable. But I'd have to look at the roster and run it down, and we don't have time for that because we're talking about the pay-per-view and not necessarily the future of all the booking of the women's division. On that note, let us move on to another title match, which sees Samoa Joe, the king of television, against Wardlow. I think this is another feud, James, where we haven't been overly thrilled by the build to it. Wardlow tried to make it a little more personal with the story about his father and him growing out his hair, which I commend, but I don't think it really drew us in the way that AEW was expecting it to.
Yeah. Another kind of misstep in terms of feuds, but another match I'm excited for. Even though we already got it.
It's big meaty men slapping meat and you're happy.
And I'm not ashamed of it. I am not ashamed of it. It's interesting because on its own, I think I would have predicted Wardlow winning. But now with the powerhouse Hobbs of it all waiting in the wings on Wednesday for whoever is the champion coming out of it, I don't know. My gut would say that they're not going to do Hobbs versus Joe because I think Hobbs is still technically a heel.
Yeah, he was over on Wednesday because it was his hometown.
Yeah,
people were popping for that, but
yeah,
I mean, people want to like Hobbs.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. He's always been over, even like the early days of his AEW run when he was helping out Moxley. Like he was getting over, but
great snarl.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. The snarl face that he does is like just.
I'm not even going to try. It'd be disrespectful.
Yeah. It's funny because when we were reviewing Dynamite, I said I think Joe wins. Now I think Wardlow wins.
I don't know. I am a big fan of Samoa Joe, King of Television. I said that when he first had the run. And when he lost the title to Darby, and I was like, I think he has more to do with this character. It seems really cool. But I was like, okay, if he's going to lose to anybody, he loses it to Darby. That's fine. And then I said the same thing when he won it back. I was like, all right, cool. I get Samoa Joe, King of Television, back. But I feel like Darby had more to do with this run. It was a very weird decision. I don't hate either of those runs, but fine. I have Samoa Joe, King of Television back. I don't want to lose it 3 weeks later. Like, I really enjoy this run. It's such a cool, badass character. And his promos for it are great, where he's speaking as a king and he's like telling fables almost, of like Lancelot, King Arthur-esque tales of the idiots who come against him, against the king. He's doing so well with this character. I feel like losing it to Wardlow is kind of, I don't want to call it dumb, but I don't want to lose that. So I'm going to pick Joe. I want him to continue this run. I don't know what he's going to do against Hobbs. And Hobbs is another thing. If Hobbs wins the title on Wednesday, I don't hate that either. I think that guy needs a push, and I think he needs something to do. But then I lose Samoa Joe, King of Television, and I'm going to be upset.
I'm willing to So I'm going to change what I said. I think Joe retains now against Wardlow and then drops it to Hobbs on Wednesday. That's my prediction. And I'm willing to sacrifice Joe for Hobbs at this point.
Joe is fine. Joe, he can lose to Hobbs, and I think everyone's always said he can lose to anybody and immediately bounce right back because he's Samoa Joe. A, we all know he's a credible threat, and B, he's such a good promo. He's going to invest you in any feud he has, even if he's just lost.
And Joe is defending the Ring of Honor Television Championship next Thursday.
Do you know against whom?
Tony Deppen, a Ring of Honor talent who I'm not familiar with, but I'll put it this way. Having seen him tonight on Ring of Honor, I think Joe's going to kill him.
So we need a good Joe is going to kill you chant.
I have a weird feeling that Joe loses either Sunday or Wednesday, but then decimates on Thursday.
Yeah, and
that's what I'm predicting.
I mean, to my argument, people, because I'm stealing this from Reddit, but people always argue that he lost to Brock Lesnar. What was it, Great Balls of Fire? All-time great pay-per-view name. God. He came out, the next night and threatened Brock Lesnar again, and everyone was like, yeah, give him another shot. Wasn't that the look at me when I'm talking to you promo?
I think so. Because that led to SummerSlam,
Holy fuck. Like, Joe can immediately invest you in whatever he's doing. So
Joe's incredible, always has been. Yeah.
I just don't think I think they kind of killed Wardlow's momentum when he lost the title at Full Gear.
Come on, man. They killed his momentum when he won the title.
That's true as well. But he was still over. People were invested in the Powerbomb Symphonies, and he was having good matches for, the title because they were pretty much doing open championship. But I think all he was doing was having matches. He wasn't building a character or anything.
I think Wardlow's shtick allows him to immediately get the crowd behind him again. Like, I think if he does a Powerbomb Symphony to Joe or Hobbs or whoever, the crowd's gonna the crowd's gonna get behind him again. He's just been stuck in the middle of nowhere for so long.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, all right, you got the in-ring part of getting yourself over, kid. Like, and I don't mean to call him kid, I just was using the wrestling joke, but it's you gotta bring me in another way. And I know they try to do that with this hair story with his father and everything, and I understand that, but he needs more depth than I big strong man, I power bomb people. And I don't mean that as a slight. I like Wardlow. It's just you have to advance your character. And they did that when he was under MJF, and we all said, okay, he's out from under that thumb now. What's the next step? And I just don't think he's truly taken it yet.
Yeah, no, I agree. And even he admitted he's not too thrilled with his 2022 run either. So,
and I don't think winning the title back is that next step.
I also think that, not to spoil who I think is going to win the main event, but I think Wardlow has a real shot at a certain world champion down the line. So to keep him free of the TNT title would probably be a good idea.
Yeah, that's definitely a feud you could build to, but it would. Should he lose, then you have to build to it.
Yeah.
Because he's coming off a loss. So maybe not, I mean, obviously we all know who you're talking about. Maybe not Max's next challenger, but perhaps the challenger after that.
Yeah.
Okay. Let us move on to the final non-title match of the night, but perhaps maybe the most important match of the night, which sees Jon Moxley go up against Hangman Adam Page in a Texas death match. I don't know all the rules to this. I think I read that you had to pin the guy and then he's had to stay down for 10 or something. I don't know how they're playing it.
It's just
it's just a last man standing match.
Yeah, but it's more violent. It's more Texas-y.
I kind of like the way I just put it, where you had to pin the guy and then he has to stay down for 10.
So are you saying a pin of 10?
No, you pin the guy. From what I read, and this is when the challenge was first laid out on Dynamite, and I was Googling it while we were doing the live for Dynamite because we weren't really sure what the rules entailed or how it was different than anything else. And I saw on Cage Match, and they had a list of Texas death matches. It included the AEW ones because I do believe Lance Archer faced off against, was it Hangman? It was against somebody.
He had a Texas death match against Moxley.
Was it Mox? Okay.
Yeah. Both of them.
Okay. All right. So I wasn't wrong. But yeah, those were listed there. But they said at the top of Cage Match, it said you need to pin the wrestler for 3 seconds, and then they need to stay down for a 10 count. Now, I don't think that's what they do in AEW. I think that would be really cool because I think that makes it a lot harder than just your typical last man standing match, because at this point, why not just make it a last man standing match? And I obviously think it makes it harder than your typical, no holds barred or extreme rules or whatever you want to call it match, because those are all the same thing at this point. But whatever the rules are, this is going to be violent, is going to be bloody, and it is going to be personal.
Absolutely. I'm very ready for it. I think this is going to be a very transformative feud and a very transformative match. I think there's a very real possibility we see Moxley turn heel here. I think there's
100% happening.
I think there's a very real possibility we see Hangman find friends again in some capacity. I really think
of the elite variety.
Potentially. I'm very excited for what this match will bring moving forward. I don't think it's gonna. I think it's gonna be Moxley, because if Hangman wins, they're back to 50-50. They would have both won too.
And you think there should be a definitive winner here?
I think there should be a definitive winner, and I think a win pushes Moxley in the direction he needs to go, and I think a loss pushes Hangman in the direction he needs to go. So I'm going Mox here.
That's a good point. I don't know if the loss pushes Hangman in the direction he needs to go, because I think the story they're telling is that Hangman needs to be a more violent person than he ever has been. And we've seen Hangman be violent, even though he said on Wednesday that he abhors it. But this is a level that, that he hasn't seen before, that he has never reached before. And I don't think Hangman's turning heel. Don't get me wrong. He's way too good as a babyface to do that, especially right now. But I kind of feel that I think Hangman wins, or at least at minimum, maybe they do the thing where Hangman is literally about to kill Moxley and can't do it, and it costs him.
See, I don't know, because they're playing that with Jungle Boy and Christian, so I don't think we're going to see that twice.
That was my thing. I was like, but that would be the same thing. So
I think
it's a tough call.
I think we also got to go back to Moxley's promo, where he said, Hangman, you're a great wrestler and you're a great man, but there's no one like me. There's no animal in AEW like me. There's only room for one animal like me in AEW. And I think he's going to show what kind of animal that is.
Yeah, and I don't know. Yeah, you're right. I don't know if Hangman can match that level of intensity and violence. It's going to be tough. By the way, John Moxley bleeding is like minus 5,000, not worth the money. So
I want him to prove us all. I want him to prove us all wrong, and he doesn't bleed once.
I will give you $5 on the live if Moxley doesn't bleed.
Deal. I'll take that bet. I will take
virtual
that bet.
handshake. Ted, you doing it? Ted. There's no way he's gonna look at Hangman and start bleeding. That man has Devon Dudley forehead. Like
Jesus,
he's getting there.
Oh,
but it's a tough call. Man, I want to say Hangman. I'm gonna be rooting for Hangman. I think Moxley. Like you said, Moxley full blown heel turn after this match, win or lose. I think it's full blown heel turn. I think, you know what? I think Moxley wins. I think somebody comes down to... I think Moxley wins, and I think he keeps going after Hangman after he wins. And then somebody comes down to help him, whether it's the Dark Order or the Elite. I don't know of which, but probably the Dark Order. And then they all get laid out by the BCC. And that's the end of it.
Yeah.
And they all turn heel. Ooh, which actually leads me to something, but we'll talk about it later. Remind me though, it has to do with the main event.
You got it.
Let's run through the tag team title match real quick. Not real quick because it deserves its own time, but now I really want to talk about the main event. But we'll see the Guns, who are for some reason the champion, against the Acclaimed versus Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett, versus Orange Cassidy and Danhausen. So this is a thing. Obviously, Jarrett and Lethal qualified in the Tag Team Battle Royal 2 weeks ago on Dynamite. And then Orange Cassidy and Danhausen were the surprise entrants. Well, not surprise, but they were announced literally on the show. And they won the Casino Battle Royal Tag Team Battle Royal. Too many Battle Royals, baby. But you get my point. They won that. They're now in this four-way match. And the Acclaimed, being the former champions, exercise their rematch clause. This match is a mess on paper, James. There's a lot of moving parts here. The Guns and Lethal and Jarrett, who I'm just going to refer to as Jeff Jarrett and the Slapnuts, even though it's only the two of them, it's just easier. They have some sort of uneasy alliance. We kind of saw that on Wednesday, but obviously no love lost between them. I don't think the Acclaimed and Orange and Danhausen have any problem, but they're obviously going to have their sportsman-like competition because they're faces. But it's just, what are we doing here? Why do the Guns have the title? Why is this once again a four-way match for the tag titles? I feel like we haven't had a straight-up match for them since fucking the Bucks faced Kenny and Page, or maybe since I guess Kenny and Page faced FTR, but I feel like we haven't,
or since the Acclaimed took the titles from Swerve and Our Glory.
I guess, but I meant on like a pay-per-view.
That was on a pay-per-view.
Oh yeah, that's right.
They lost the first one, and then they had the rematch.
I thought one of them was on Grand Slam, but
yeah, the one that they won was at Grand Slam. The first one that they lost was on pay-per-view.
Oh, okay. Wait, I thought somebody else was involved in that match. All right, whatever. My point being, I feel like half the time there's multi-team matches for the tag titles. Either way, like I said, it's a mess, James. It's just a mess. This whole thing's a mess.
It
goes back to what we were saying just about how weird and not as good as it used to be this tag division is.
That's what I was just gonna say. For a division I loved so much, it's just, what are they doing? There's nothing exciting about this match. If the Acclaimed win, that's great, because hey, everybody loves the Acclaimed, and they shouldn't have lost the titles in the first place. But then, all right, great. That just means we've wasted the last 3 weeks, if not more. If the Guns win, that is a wet fart of an ending. Who cares?
Status quo remains, and they probably pin Danhausen.
If Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett win,
nuclear heat, but nobody wants it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to question. I'm gonna have to really examine my life as a fan. And if now Danhausen and Orange Cassidy win, you have another Franken team winning. When there are so many teams that deserve a genuine shot at the titles, like the actual best friends that are Chucky and Trent.
Yeah. Now, we did say in their defense on Wednesday that Orange and Danhausen have tagged a lot on the indies, but they haven't tagged too much in AEW. Yeah. So we haven't really seen them, in an AEW or on an AEW screen as a straight up tag team. They have had tag matches before, but it was usually with Chucky T and Trent.
Yeah.
And Danhausen came out at like the last second.
Yeah. None of this sits right with me, but I'm sure the match itself will be fine. I'm going to go with... Why not? Because I'm not thrilled anyway. I'm going to go with Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett. Why not? Why not? That's my like wild pick of the night. Let's see how it goes.
I don't think you're crazy. I do think one of the two heel teams are going to win this match. Because I think that's why, and I hate to say this, I think that's why Danhausen's there. Something's going to happen where Danhausen eats this pin. Or maybe Orange. I don't know. Orange has been way too protected. He's on like a crazy match winning streak. They wouldn't pin him. I think unfortunately it's going to be Danhausen. And it could even be like the Acclaimed end up taking him out. And straight up, and then it gets stolen. Like, it's going to be something weird like that. I think the Guns are going to retain just because they just won the titles, and I think it would be weird to shotgun them again. So, but if Lethal and Jarrett end up winning, I wouldn't be overly shocked. The Heat would, I think, be better. And I sound like, what's his name? Just like, oh, that's good heat, bro. It was that's
Vince Russo.
Yeah, think of the Heat, bro. Like, yeah, you're going to get crazy heat because Jarrett is a heat magnet. He's doing a magnificent job in his role. I will give him all credit in the world. And as somebody who was very, very confused when he showed up, he has done a great job in AEW. And
I agree.
Both backstage and on screen. But, man, don't need the titles. With all due respect. And the Acclaimed winning in the back would make this entire last 3 weeks irrelevant and stupid. And I just don't think that Danhausen and Orange win, especially because A, Cassidy has a title, and B, that makes no sense to me. It makes no sense.
I agree. I completely agree. Completely agree.
I have the Guns. Unfortunately, I think them winning the titles in the first place was dumb, but here we are. I will say this. If Orange and Danhausen do win the titles, and even if they don't win the titles, there's a decent chance of this happening. You could see a best friends heel turn.
I think that's where we're heading towards. No matter what, I agree. Winning the titles, not winning the titles. Hey, maybe they're the reason they don't win the titles.
That could be an option.
Yeah,
it is 4-way, so there's no rules. I assume. Well, that depends on how they do it because they either do it where only 2 teams are allowed to be legal at a time, or you can do all 4 people at a time. I prefer the latter. I always say that. I think it's dumb where you have 4 teams and only 2 of them can be competing. That's really agree. Stupid.
It's stupid.
But I think the latter allows for it to be a no DQ, which makes things chaotic. But at that point, just have a fucking tornado tag. It would be way cooler.
I agree.
14 tornado tag. Just full blown chaos. Get like 4 refs out there and have a good time. But yeah, the Guns win. We'll see about the best friends. We do know they're dicks in real life, but it's fine. And now it's time for the main event.
Oh, wow. Are we already to the main event?
Yes, we are.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so I would like to point out, disclaimer, we are filming this on Thursday. We have not seen Rampage. We don't know if any of the matches are coming up. We don't know if Jade Cargill, for example, is going to have a title match. So please forgive us if they book more matches on Rampage. We got to get this episode out. So we're filming it before that. But disclaimer Jones over here, but I digress. Like I said, the main event, which sees the champion Maxwell Jacob Freeman, MJF, against the challenger Bryan Danielson in a 60-minute Iron Man match for the AEW World Championship. We are very excited about this match. I think we discussed at length on Wednesday how thrilled we were with that go home promo where Bryan didn't even let MJF talk, and he said he was going to kick MJF's fucking head in. And I do emphasize the fucking because he did actually say it, even though it got bleeped. Go look it up online, kids. You can find the uncensored version. 18 plus, but 17 plus rated on. But James, we're all really excited for this main event. But as I mentioned earlier, 60-minute Iron Man matches can be tricky to book. So obviously we have to pick a winner, but there's a lot of leeway in where you can go with your predictions here because we're going to have multiple falls.
There's a part of me that would really love to see this go the hour without there being a single fall. Like not like a tie at 60 minutes, but like
somebody gets one in the last like minute or so.
Yeah, I would low key love that. I don't think that's what we're gonna get. I think we're probably gonna get like the classic heel gets himself disqualified.
Oh yeah,
fall.
That's minus money.
But yeah, right. The diamond ring or brass knucks.
No, he's going to attack the shoulder with a chair.
Yeah. All are viable options.
Bryan's injured shoulder is going to be a thing.
I'm not looking forward to that aspect. I
drink every time Excalibur says Bryan's injured shoulder.
Right? Yeah, my liver. I think Bryan is going to get a fall or two on his own to the point that there's going to be a legitimate, or it's going to protect Bryan that he could say that he pinned or submitted the world champion.
Yeah.
But MJF retains. He just does. Yeah,
no, it has to be MJF. And I sounded a lot like Taz there. It has to be MJF because this is his run right now. This is his time, and his dick fell out. It's his time, and he's gonna run with this title perhaps all the way to the bidding war of 2024. So it's unfortunate that he's gonna win, but he is. Like you said, there's going to be a disqualification. I think, like I said, I think it's gonna be him attacking the shoulder, probably with a chair. Who knows? People are gonna go through tables. That's 100% gonna happen. I think Bryan probably gets a submission, maybe with a cattle mutilation. Perhaps with the Regal's submission that he's been using for a while.
That would be poetic. That would be poetic.
It really would. I like the cattle mutilation, so that's why I'm kind of hoping for it. And he hasn't broken it out in a few minutes, so I think that
the only reason I don't want to see him hit cattle mutilation on MJF is very facially, like he's very expressive.
Yeah, so you can't really see it.
And you can't see it with cattle mutilation. And I think the terror on MJF's face of being locked in a submission by Bryan Danielson, that's why I want to see the label lock. That's why I want to see...
he'll definitely see it. I don't know if he'll tap to it, but you're going to see it.
I would love to see MJF tap in this match. I would love to see it happen.
He's going to. I would bet money on it. He 100% taps in this match at some point.
I think...
I got to... Good one. Do you think perhaps I don't know it's the Regal stretch, is it? Or
the Regal stretch.
Do you think Bryan gets it in with like maybe 10 seconds left and MJF taps with like 2?
Yeah.
Not with 2. No, not with 2, with like 2 seconds after the bell.
Yeah. I was literally just gonna say it. I think we're gonna get that classic.
It would have been the tie.
Yeah, exactly. Would have been the
tie.
Like
he's up 4-3 and he holds out barely.
Yep. And you're saying everything. Yeah, no, you're saying everything I was going to say. It's going to be one of those situations where Bryan is this close. He's got him locked in, but MJF just won't tap. And then Bryan has to let him go.
Yeah. Or if he does.
Yeah. At the very least, I want to see Bryan kick his head in.
You could say fucking. I've said enough on this podcast tonight.
That's fair. I want to see him kick his fucking head in.
There we go.
I gave up cursing for Lent and it's gone poorly.
Oh, I'm sorry, God. I didn't know that.
No, it's okay. I've done it on my own. Don't you worry. You weren't my temptation.
I wouldn't have made you do that if I knew you gave it up.
No, I've cursed already tonight on my own.
Make sure you don't eat meat tomorrow.
Meat on free. I'm not. Pizza it is.
I bought so much fish this week. I like fish though, so I'm hyped about it. Yeah. I'm trying to think of what else Bryan's probably gonna do to possibly get, because I think he probably gets I think he gets 3 falls. I think one's via DQ. I think he gets one, whether it's cattle mutilation or the labella lock or something like that. And he probably gets a pinfall with
the Busaiku.
With the Busaiku knee. And MJF probably gets one shortly after destroying Bryan's arm with a chair, whatever it is, probably via salt of the earth. And, he probably gets some backdoor pins or something. Maybe feet on the ropes. I think he cheats, like legit cheats for at least one. And he probably gets 2 more semi-clean. But
I would actually, man, I'm just thinking about this now, and it's kind of going to play off something I've been complaining about. I've been complaining a lot that Bryan's been getting his submission wins by his opponents
verbally submitting?
No, just passing out.
Oh, yeah.
That's the ending of the match. Bryan has MJF in his submission, and MJF passes out. But it doesn't count as a submission as the time goes.
You think... I only say this because they usually leave passing out for people they want to keep strong, like mentally strong. Like, oh, that guy didn't tap. MJF's a rat bastard. But you think he's going to hold out?
So here's the thing. I think he might tap out earlier in the match. I think, like you said, I think that's how Bryan gets one of his falls. But I think the ending of it all, because you got to remember, this is MJF fighting for the only thing he cares about now. I think him being forced to pass out at the end of an hour-long match against Bryan Danielson. It's not even so much that he's holding out as he's just exhausted and finally just breaks. I think I wouldn't be shocked if that's the ending we get.
He breaks, but it's too late for Danielson.
Yep. Because you make the argument, did he tap out? Would the ref have counted that as a tap out earlier? When did he pass out? Did he pass out as the bell rang? There's no way of knowing because there is no tap out.
I like that.
I just worked myself that if I don't get it, I'm going to be upset.
I really like that. That'd be very, very smart booking. Call us, Tony. We have ideas. And then this way you don't have to do everything by yourself. All right. So the thing I wanted to bring up earlier is something that Bryan Danielson brought up in an interview on Thursday, which is, the day we're filming this. So today. But he mentioned that he doesn't want to go on last. He said he would like to be the main event because he wants to go to bed. Or not the main event, excuse me, the opening match because he wants to go to bed.
I don't think Bryan's going to be happy. I don't think this is the opening match. I think this is the main event.
I don't think it's going to be the opening match either. But he did say, should that be the case, perhaps the main event is Moxley versus Hangman, which I do think opens up an interesting possibility because I've been banning this about all week and I've kind of forgotten my main point, or my idea. But my main point is, should Bryan lose, do you think that he could turn heel and re-immerse himself with this ultra-violent BCC? Especially if they do the 60-minute man match earlier and then do the Texas Death Match later, and he comes out to help the BCC in their beatdown.
I get that. I see how we could get there. It would be a big leap for me because
he would lose and he'd be mad.
And I get that. And I get that. No, and I get that. I get how you get there mentally. I get the breadcrumbs that get you to that outcome. But are you going to tell me that a Bryan who couldn't win at the end of an hour-long match, who probably lost because he himself took a massive amount of damage, is going to be good for a beatdown later in the night?
Okay, I actually remembered my original idea.
There you go.
He loses, he snaps, and then kicks the shit out of MJF. Not to turn MJF face. Fuck him.
Fuck him.
You have the BCC come out maybe on the stage and give him like the nod of like approval. And then he just fucking kicks his head in for like 10 minutes until he like bloodies his face up. Not 10 minutes, but he just absolutely eviscerates MJF, and then they all walk out together.
how do you feel about Bryan turning heel at this point? Because I feel like he kind of only just recently turned face again.
I don't mind. I was just curious because I'm just trying to think of, okay, the BCC is turning heel. Yes. We all think, if they haven't already, we think it's going to be cemented at this pay-per-view. So do you want to keep Bryan separate from that? Or do you want to try to work him back into it? And I do think, because I think my first idea was just trying to figure out what the hell I was thinking of earlier in the week. And I think you're right. I do think that the 60-minute Iron Man match is the main event.
Yeah.
But I do think, should you have him just destroy MJF after a loss, that would be a way back in.
I think so. But you were also forgetting the one complicated aspect of this is MJF being the shit heel that he's been, despite the fact that he is popular as hell. I'm not going to boo that guy for kicking the head in of some Long Islander.
No, and I don't think he would get booed, but I do think a show of violence with the BCC, approving it, giving it their stamp of approval. I do think that would be a way back in, and then you can have him be booed the next week when he goes out and just, starts healing up the way the BCC are in terms of just ultra violence.
I get it. I don't know. I don't think
it's my bold prediction of the night.
No, I get that. I just don't see him doing something that's so popular and then immediately getting booed the next week. I think those cheers carry over. Because it's MJF. It's MJF getting his head kicked in, which is something a lot of people want to see because MJF is a shit heel. So it's possible, but I don't think so. Even if it's just through the violent aspect of it, Bryan separated himself from the rest of the BCC the moment he defended Regal against Moxley. And I think that's going to be, as much as I don't want him to split up from the group, I think we're going to see a heel trio versus a face Bryan in some way.
Yeah, which is weird because he's still repping their colors. I mean, he's been wearing that gear.
Yep.
So it's weird. It really depends on whether or not you want to keep Bryan heel or face, because I think if you're moving the rest of the BCC heel, you want to keep Bryan face. Do you continue an affiliation between them? I mean, hell, even if they kick him out, at least you got to give us something there. But it really depends on whether or not they want to just keep them all together.
Well, what's interesting,
I think they need to make a choice either way.
What's interesting to me is if you go back to the original idea, when Bryan first turned heel against Hangman, right?
Yeah.
He first turned heel after winning that tournament that we all kind of agree Mox was going to win that tournament. But then Mox had to leave that tournament because he had to deal with his personal issues. Mox was being very heely in that tournament.
Heelys. Nah, I just said Heelys. I was like, Heelys.
But he was being very heelish in that tournament.
Better.
And I genuinely believe the finals were going to be Mox versus Bryan, and we were going to get heel Mox going against babyface Hangman for the title. But then everything played out the way it did, and Bryan turned heel out of nowhere, and it worked. Bryan turning heel worked for him at that point. And then we got the feud between Bryan and Mox that led to the formation of the BCC. So maybe this is how we get there. What we were going to get in the first place, a heel Mox against the babyface Bryan. It's possible. I'd actually kind of love it if Bryan defended Hangman.
Huh. That's, I guess, also kind of possible. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's a weird dynamic. And Regal leaving, I feel like, threw a whole wrench in that plan in general. And that's no knock on Regal. I mean, the guy wanted to go and, help mentor his son and go back to WWE, which I genuinely don't think he wanted to leave in the first place. I think he had a fantastic time in AEW. He said as much. Regal has been an absolute gem throughout all of this. He's a true stand-up guy. But him leaving did throw a wrench into the BCC's plans. So Tony Khan needs to decide how he wants to play this out. And whether it's they all stick together, whether it's they go apart, as long as I think there's a good story there, I think we'll all be okay with it. But I think if he just leaves us hanging, it's not a good look. We need some sort of resolution, whatever it is.
And I think we are. I think this is one of those slow build stories that is going to pay off, though. I don't think we're going to be left wanting at the end of this.
Yeah, which I think is something AEW has sorely missed since Hangman. The slow build stories have been phenomenal, and that resolution was one of the greatest payoffs in wrestling of all time. But on that note, let us have our resolution of this show. I would like to thank everybody so much for watching the Mark It Down podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe. We will be live after Revolution on Sunday, no matter how late it is. James and Danny might be tired. I won't be because I don't sleep. So that's a thing. But I'll be fine. Be a little drunk, but I'll be fine. But yeah, be sure to check that out. Be sure to check out Danny's Raw Fast Forwards on Mondays. We have Dynamite reviews live after Dynamite on Wednesdays. And then the Gym Pack Zone, and I guess the new Ring of Honor show, also hosted by James. We're going to try to work out that scheduling.
We're workshopping names right now. Right now it's Gym of Honor, but I don't like it. We're figuring it out.
John Cena guy show.
Right.
But we will figure out the name for that and the scheduling, because apparently Ring of Honor is just doing fuck all on that show in terms of when the show ends. So we'll figure all that out. But be sure to like and subscribe so you can watch at least the Gym Pack Zone, because we know that comes on after Impact, which actually ends at a set hour. Check out all our social media stuff. It is in the description below: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I always push the Instagram because Danny does a great job over there. Also, check us out on Twitter for Sunday. I will be live tweeting it, as I always do. I have a good time with you guys on Twitter. It's a lot of fun. So on that note, for James Gisante, my name is Nick Cummings. Thank you so much for watching the Mark It Down podcast. Have a good one, everyone.